that'll take us on to JSA Secret Files and Origins issue 1. James Robinson and David Goyer writing. So we said this is a Geoff Johns slot. Johns doesn't actually start writing it for a few issues, right?
It's like issue 6 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It's basically after the first arc, but everything that happens in this first arc is relevant and important, so we have to go through that arc too. So Scott Benefiel is the artist, if I'm saying that right. So this issue, of course, does drop you in the deep end a little bit, because there is definitely some characters that you might not know, unless you know DC history. And I'm not going to claim that I knew all these characters the first time I read this. Wesley Dodds, the original Sandman, is basically going to die. He knows he's dying tonight. He's going to join his wife, and he calls in Speed Saunders to say, hey, this is happening. There's going to be a new Dr. Fate child, basically. You have to tell the JSA this, and especially tell Sandy Hawkins, the new Sand. He needs to know this. And there's a whole idea of him passing on the mantle and how he's going to have his dreams.
He's going to inherit the dreams.
Yes, which is how we end the issue, is with Sandy waking up from essentially a nightmare based on this.
Except we know it's not just a nightmare.
Yeah, we don't actually get to see it though, because I remember that the next issue starts with what the nightmare is. We get to see it next, in issue 1 of the actual main series. But we have this villain pops up, demanding to know where the child is. What's this villain again?
The Grey Man?
No, not the Grey Man. The big villain.
Oh, the big villain. I can't remember.
Did they say his name in this?
I don't know if they do.
Maybe they don't.
we definitely learn it later, I'm sure.
Yeah, we definitely do.
No, I don't remember his name. It's a bit of a mystery here, though, I suppose.
I guess, yeah. I feel like I should know it, but maybe that's just because I know it from later and I've forgotten it, and not because I'm supposed to know it from this issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure we are supposed to know it yet.
That's fair. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, so Wesley Dodds goes over the cliff, and he dies, and the rest of the issue is basically what's left of the JSA, which right now is Wildcat, Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, who are your Flash and Green Lantern, although Green Lantern's going by Sentinel at this point in time, and Hippolyta, Wonder Woman of the JSA era, but she doesn't go by that name anymore because now Diana's using Wonder Woman. So again, in this continuity, Hippolyta was Wonder Woman during JSA time.
Yes.
So yes, so basically it's going around. We're introduced to some of the new characters. We're introduced to Stargirl, although notably not called Stargirl yet, just a Star Spangled Kid. She's not changed the name yet. And we hear her mention. So this is interesting that John's created this character, but the character is here before he's on the book, which I think is interesting.
It is, isn't it? It's like I don't know if she was in some other issues somewhere first.
Yeah, that he wrote. Yeah.
Or if it was more just he created her and was like, "Hey guys," maybe he knew he was coming onto the book, and he's like, "Can you use this for me?"
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's introduced that Starman, Jack Knight's dad, is making her a belt. There's so many names in this issue, goddammit.
There is. I wasn't sure which one you were reaching for there.
But this is the thing, there's so many names, but they're all names that I don't necessarily hear outside of JSA that much. So, and it's been a while, so I'm like...
Yeah.
But yeah, and she mentions her stepfather, Pat Dugan, and whatnot. So it's setting up some of that stuff. We get more of that later. But Alan Scott shows up to basically tell everyone about the death, and that there's going to be a funeral. And Starman's going to have to go. Jay Garrick goes to meet Our Man, who's the robotic version of Our Man, and kind of gives him a bit of a pep talk about how he's maybe starting to be more human than he realizes, because human beings spend their whole life trying to figure out what it means to be human, and the fact that you're already questioning these things means you're on a good track, and it makes him smile. So it's a nice introduction to this Our Man. Again, not necessarily in terms of what his powers are, what he can do, but just to make us like him a little bit.
I really like the way that this introduces a lot of the newer characters
with one of the old characters.
Really well established, Alan Scott, Jay Garrett. These are really well established classic characters, and it's really nice to see that being the link in, so that you have something to care about when they come in.
Yeah, so that's a nice little thing. We have the new Atom Smasher, Rothstein, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the old one's Al Pratt, and I was just trying to get the surname right.
Yeah, Rothstein.
So yeah, he's like, you know what? I avoided my legacy. I went by different names when I should have been embracing, where I come from and who I am. So he becomes Atom Smasher.
Yes, because he was Nuklon before.
Yes, and had a mohawk and stuff. And he even talks about how he's embarrassed that he ever wore that. He ever had that outfit and that name. Why did I think this was cool? Wildcat comes up to talk to him and tell him through his window, and he's like, however many stories up, so that's quite notable.
He's like, how did you get up? And he's like, kept by name, kept by nature.
Yeah. So he's there to tell him about. We don't actually get to see him tell him, but it just ends with him saying, "I've got some bad news," basically, and it cuts away. Yeah. We're introduced to Black Canary. We get Black Canary in 2 books on this show, so a lot of Dinah talk coming up. Okay, nothing to add to that. Okay.
Sorry, my thing froze.
All right. Fair enough. Funny 2-page spread with Dinah. She's like fighting some bad guy. And notably, this is after, just in terms of the timeline, this is after the issue of Birds of Prey we read. So she has a costume that's very similar to her Birds of Prey outfit that we just got, although she's got like a jacket on now too. But it's a very similar outfit.
It's basically the same thing, yeah.
Her hair's longer. Basically, she's having this big fight over this 2-page spread. But as she's fighting, all she's actually doing in her narration is thinking about what groceries she needs. So she's like doing a shopping list as she fights someone.
Yeah. I have to say, I really dislike the layout of this page.
Okay.
In terms of the fact that, so that first column of dialogue, or not dialogue, but narration, you read downwards, but the art's going across, left to right, in terms of the flow of the fight. So I feel like I'm sat there, I read all of this narration and then go back to the fight. I don't feel like I'm getting it organically as the fight goes on.
What's weird for me is that I feel like when I look at a page like this, I just see the fight visually, because obviously I noticed the visuals before I read the text, right? So I see the fight, and to me this is just like an example, because the whole point is it's just like a sort of generic fight that's happening. So the order of it doesn't matter that much. So I just see the whole fight and then read the text, and for me it works because I'm not worried about any particular part of the text, fitting with. It
doesn't have to. I'm not saying, it needs to line up exactly. Like with this has to line up with this beat of the fight. No. But just the fight is separated into boxes of this, and it goes, up and across, and then back down, and it has this flow of this is the way the fight is taking place, and the narration is in a complete opposite direction, and it feels really counterintuitive to how I should read it.
Yeah. Hippolyta shows up, saves her from a sniper, and then is like, "Hey, so a friend of mine, your mother's, has died." So again, that legacy coming in there that we're mentioning Dinah Drake. And if you're only used to the TV show Arrow, Dinah Drake is not some random other person. She is Dinah Lancey's mother.
If you're only used to the TV show, then I pity you.
And then we're interested in the new hot girl, Kendra Saunders, who for the first time is putting on the outfit and the wings of Sierra Hall, or Sierra Saunders, sorry, I think she says. Yeah.
Probably.
Sanders. Yeah, she's Saunders and Sierra was Sanders. There's too much Hawk continuity to keep track of all these variations of names.
It's Hawks. Who cares?
Yeah. But she puts the outfit on, and we get. I actually really like the art here when she goes off the edge of the cliff, and it's like she's falling and she's going to die, and then we get the full page spread of her swooping up.
But we talked about some of the cheesecake stuff in the Birds of Prey issue. This is way worse.
Yeah, we've got a lot under, but she's bending over to put on her outfit.
And she's pulling the top up first.
And it's basically just shadows hiding the nipples, essentially, at this point. So yeah, bit of cheesecake. It's a problematic thing that comic books have had for a long time. It's only just recently that people have really started to call it out. Well, at least enough that I've noticed it. I mean, I'm sure there's always been some people who have said this is bullshit. Why are we always doing this? But
I'm sure, yeah.
And the final page is the phone ringing at Sandy Hawkins' place as he's clearly having a nightmare, and there's a tear coming down his eye. And we actually, a nice little touch here is that it repeats the dialogue that Dodds had at the start of the issue talking about Sandy, and just sort of has it playing over this, and it gives it's a nice touch. Like sometimes I get annoyed if I have to reread the same text in the same book again. I think here it actually has enough weight and impact in this moment to make it really work.
I agree, because I think it's not too much dialogue that it feels like a slog, and I think it gives it this nice bookend, and it's that final line where it's like, "Tell him I'm sorry," as he wakes up and he's crying. It's like, okay, that works really well.
And it's the important beats as well. It says, it's not my nephew, it's Deanne's. We actually never did marry, but he's always been like a son to me. It's just the important emotional beats again as we see him, waking up with tears in his eyes. And that's the end of the issue. It's worth mentioning that the actual single issue of this did have more pages with because it's a secret issue, origins and files, so it had profiles and stuff at the back. There's an extra 15 pages, but the actual main story is about the length of a regular issue, and that's what's in the trade. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if all those extra profile pages at the back of the trade. It seems like
they probably are, aren't they?
Yeah, they probably are. That feels like
but I can't be bothered to skip all the way to the back to find out.
Nah. If Comixology had put in a page number to jump to the end,
shouldn't it?
I would do it, but you have to scroll through the scroll wheel to get to the last pages, and there's 400 pages, so I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I guess this was a really strong first issue of this run, and it's not even John's yet.
No, but it's really smart in we say, okay, so we start with Dodds, and then we move into the JSA. Who's left of them anyway, and it was all these characters that we know. It is these strong legacy characters.
Yeah, and
then you introduce everyone else through them.
Yeah, not everyone sticks around, but it does a good job of using the legacy characters to introduce the new ones, like you say. So they're always in these pairs, and what it does as well is it introduces the core characters. It introduces Wildcat and Hippolyta and the Flash and Green Lantern, and then has them go. So there's a through line where you meet them, and then one by one we're introduced to the new characters with each one of them that we've already been. So even if this is your first ever book reading some of these characters, and for most people it probably will be, because how many people who read go and read John's JSA have read any actual JSA or Earth 2 Justice League from years ago?
Yeah, a pretty small number, I would imagine.
Probably not. So really, really good in that sense. Really good. And the art for the most part is pretty solid too. A lot of good coloring, especially, I thought.
Yeah, it's really solid. Outside of those panels at the end that we were just talking about, there's not really much to complain about in it.
Yeah. So what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give this a solid 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Solid 8 out of 10 from me.